Was Naruto born with a weak body? World S009 Ninja World. Asterisk the birth of two legends. Theory Part 1. Today, October 9th, was an important day for Konoha, because today, the babies of the fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki were born. At that moment, a cry of pain was heard. Kushina, with tears of pain, looks angrily at her husband. Bastard Minato, I swear if I go through this again, get ready for me to castrate you. Minato sweats anime style. Haha Kushi-chan, don't say that. I'm sure it makes you happy to have more kids. Kushina gave him a fake smile, and with her hand she grabbed her husband's hand, and without remorse she squeezed it tightly. Minato wanted to scream, but his pride wouldn't let him. Although his tears made it clear that he was in great pain, Tsunade, who saw this, just shook her head, but put on a smile. Her best decision was to stay in Konoha village and take care of Kushina, because in her eyes she was like her daughter, and she also took care of Minato, so she also saw him as her son. And knowing that she was going to be a grandmother made her even more excited, because they were expecting twins. After a while they were born. The first baby was named Naruto Uzumaki, and the second one Menma Uzumaki Namikaze. Naruto only had his mother's surname, because he was the most similar to her, and Menma had both surnames, because he looked so much like his father and mother. Kushina was the happiest, but everyone noticed that the firstborn barely moved. Unlike the second baby, who had a lot of energy and moved a lot. Okazen, can you check Naruto-chan? Asked Kushina to Tsunade. Sure thing Kushi-chan. She grabbed the little red head, and in a quick examination she was surprised. She spoke with a sad look. Kushi-chan, this child was born with a weak body. He's so fragile that I don't know he will survive for long. Give me my baby. Tsunade handed her son to her, and Kushina could only look at her son sadly, and then started to cry. Obito Uchiha's attack did occur, but with the presence of Tsunade and Jiraiya, there were almost no casualties, and the Kyuubi was sealed on Naruto because, although he had a weak body, he possessed an immense amount of chakra strong enough to suppress the Kyuubi. The one who sacrificed himself for the sealing was the old Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi. Time passed, and one would think that Naruto's parents would take good care of their firstborn. Well, at first they did give him the care he needed. But in this world where power means everything, they didn't see their firstborn as relevant, so they focused on their second son. 7 years after the Kyuubi attack, a red-haired boy watched from the second floor through the window as his parents played and trained. His brother, he watched their happy smiles. He clenched his fist in fury. Someday, they will see that I will be the strongest. With that said, he retreated to his parents' library. Despite having a weak body, he made up for it with a prodigious mind. He already had all the information engraved in his brain. Unfortunately, he was too young to put into practice several of the things he learned. Another thing he realized was his immeasurable chakra. According to what he read in a book, to activate the chakra, the person had to meditate and feel inside him a fountain of water that symbolized the quantity and density of the chakra. When he activated his chakra, he saw within himself an endless ocean. That is why she has been practicing various chakra control exercises. Thanks to his parents' connections, he was able to obtain a book on or advanced chakra control written by Tsunade Senju, or rather he stole it, or as he liked to say, borrowed it. Another thing that bothered him is that his parents didn't enroll him in a ninja academy. Although since the incident 1 year ago he stopped considering them parents, he only stayed because of the knowledge of the place. Flashback 1 year ago, Naruto approached his mother, who was cooking. Okazen, can you enroll me in the ninja academy? Kushina. Although it seemed that she was ignoring her son, in reality she was meditating, and after a while she answered, I'm sorry Naru, your body is weak, and it would be a danger for you. Naruto said nothing and went to ask his father, and to his annoyance, he always told him the same answer. Ask your mother. It was always the same stupid answer. Naruto tried to keep insisting, and days and weeks went by until finally something happened. Although it wasn't what Naruto was looking for, Mami, Can you enroll me, mommy? I promise to try hard and be strong. My dream is to be Hokage like Otu-san. Give me a chance. Kushina clicked her tongue in annoyance. TSH, not now, Naruto. I'm not in the mood. Please, mom. I want to be strong and make the Uzumaki proud. Kushina stopped what she was doing and looked angrily at her son. The faces of her friends and family from Uzushigakure, who died, flashed in her mind, and she clenched her fist tightly. A tear escaped her eyes. Seeing this, Naruto went to hug his mother. Although due to their height difference he only hugged her by the leg, but instead of touching his mother, he did the opposite. He was going to hit the loser of his son, but with his other hand he held on tightly to avoid hitting him. Naruto, having his eyesight down, didn't see what his mother wanted to do to him, and even worse, he didn't see the angry face full of rage of his mother. But unfortunately Naruto continued speaking. Mother, please train me. I want to make our ancestors proud, and I want to make you proud, my dear mother. Naruto looked up with a huge smile, because he had always wanted to spend more time with his mother. Kushina couldn't take it anymore and her fists impacted Naruto, who was looking at his mother's face full of rage. His instincts made him retreat a couple of steps. Even so, the blow reached Naruto, but instead of hitting his face, it hit him in the throat. The blow was very strong and sent Naruto flying across the room, destroying several things in the place. Kushina's breathing was labored and her fury was beginning to subside, and it was at that moment that she realized her actions. With tears in his eyes and deep regret, he gave a cry of horror, which alerted Minato and his other son. It took 1 month, because having a frail body, the injuries were worse than expected. Due to guilt, Kushina was unable to visit her son. Minato did not visit him either. He also had the thought that his son would be nothing in life, so why bother visiting him? The only one who visited him was Tsunade, who had a look that reflected sadness. She stroked her godson's red hair. I'm sorry, little one. I don't know how to help you. Then she made an angry face. But I'll make Kushina and Minato pay for this. Someday, they will regret it. She gives him a soft kiss on his forehead and leaves the place. Instantly Naruto opens his eyes and examines the place. I see that I am in the hospital. Then he remembers the scene of his mother beating him and remembers her face full of hatred. He stands up and looks at a medical record where the visits are noted. Hee, I'm not worth anything even for people to visit me. Tears welled up in his eyes. I swear by my ancestors that I will not only be stronger than everyone, I will restore my clan to its former glory and rule the elemental nations. Asterisk the first steps, theory part 2. After the incident, Naruto was able to access some books from home and only focused on things related to chakra. He was also able to get some books made by Sanin Tsunade Senju herself. Naruto was currently watching his brother and parents from his window, but he stopped watching them and turned around. I don't have to waste time, even if it's very weak. I'll take the opportunity to enter my parents' library. Well, I already have a lot of knowledge, but with this body I don't know what I can do. His sight focuses on an old scroll of the Uzumaki clan. He cuts his finger a little, and with a pulse of chakra, the scroll opens. Contents of Fuinjutsu, from level 1 to level 20. Naruto lets out a slight laugh. Haha. How had I not thought of that before? If I want to restore my clan, I also need to be good at my clan's specialty. Having said that, he set out to copy all the content. With everything copied, he opened another parchment that caught his attention. He opened it and read, ways to summon a summoning animal. Almost everyone can use summoning, and it depends on 2 factors, chakra and luck. The more chakra you have, the more you can summon a creature of great power. If the user has low chakra, or executes the technique with low chakra, he will get a random summon. Finished reading, Naruto prepared to use the innovation jutsu. So he prepared a suitcase with enough supplies and left the house, because he didn't know how long it would take. At a slow pace he headed to a forest that said Forest of Death. With a bit of nervousness, he entered the forest. What he didn't notice was that a young girl with purple hair was stalking him and looking at him. Curiously, he entered a clear area and looked around to check that he was alone. He then pulled out a piece of paper with the steps for the summoning jutsu. Once he finished reading, he took a deep breath. Okay, you can do it. He concentrated and closed his eyes, visualized his chakra, and trying to grab it, he started to draw his chakra. Anko was eating a dango while watching the boy meditate. She was getting bored until the whole place started shaking. What the fuck is going on? She looked around to see the source of the shaking and then looked at the boy. The chopstick with the dango fell to the ground because Anko opened her mouth in shock. No, fuck you. Who the fuck is this child? Anko observed a huge aura of chakra coming out of the child. She had never seen anything so impressive in her entire life. Naruto, still enveloped in a dense layer of chakra, opened his eyes. He performed a few poses with his hands, bit a finger and shouted, "Kuchios no Jutsu." Anko, when she heard that, ran towards the boy to stop him, because she knew what could happen, but she was too late, because Naruto disappeared in a cloud of humo. TSK shit, that brat got away from me. She looked at the sky and gave a big smile. That brat has guts. Once I see him again, he will definitely be my disciple. Naruto found himself in a place unknown to him. From what little he could see, he would say he was on the top of a mountain from where he could contemplate the clouds. A deep growl was heard behind him as he turned around. His heart stopped from shock. In front of him was a mythological being that was practically legends, like Rikida Sennin himself. He was in front of a dragon. With some fear he spoke. "Hello, I am Naruto Uzumaki. I want to be your summoner." Naruto bowed his head in respect. "It's a surprise to see a young Uzumaki. The last I heard of your clan is that they were wiped out by their enemies, or rather they were betrayed and slaughtered." For a moment he remained static, but he had a serious look. "Do you know what happened to my clan?" The majestic dragon contemplated his answer for a while. "Listen, young Uzumaki. Your clan contained in its blood the power of Rikida Sennin himself. Their blood bestowed various abilities. Some had an abundance of chakra. Some possessed otherworldly physical strength. Some shaped their chakra into powerful chains. Some healed with their blood. And some awakened the dojutsu of Rikida Sennin." The dragon continued to recount various secrets of his clan, until the little Uzumaki asked him the question, "Dragon-sama, why are you telling me all this?" "Listen, young Uzumaki, human hearts may be the purest in the world. But just as there is goodness, there is also evil. The other villages hardly knew about the Uzumakis, but it was still enough for them to be afraid and envious of their powers. That's why they eradicated their clan. But tell me, don't you find it strange that they were able to invade Uzushigakure, that practically had hundreds of barrier jutsu that prevented the entry of foreigners?" Naruto thought about it and nodded his head. "That means the attack was effective, because someone they trusted betrayed my clan." He clenched his fist angrily. "You're lying. Our clan would never betray its own." The dragon nodded. "True. But they weren't the only ones who could enter the village." Naruto mulled over that answer and came to a devastating conclusion. "It was Konoha, wasn't it?" The dragon nodded. "Although I was not a witness, the cage of Uzumaki village was able to send me a letter. The letter was stained with blood, but it was clear and said, 'Our brothers of the leaf betrayed us.' With that I could come to a conclusion. Konoha was the reason for the annihilation of your clan." Naruto fell to the ground and angrily began to hit the ground. Boom. Shit. Boom. Those traitors are boom. They pretend to be saints, but they are the scum of this world. Puuummm. Naruto threw a tremendous punch that made the mountain tremble. The only reason he didn't shatter his hand was because it was covered in chakra. After blowing off some steam, he got up from the spot. "Will you let me become your summoner?" The dragon looked at Naruto, but just by looking at him, he knew he had a defect in his body. But he was not going to judge him for that, so he answered, "If you prove to be worthy, I will grant you not only the permission to summon me, but also to summon my children." When he said that, 5 dragons emerged and made an appearance. Just by looking at them, Naruto knew that each one represented one element of nature. Naruto made several hand poses, and before disappearing he said to the older dragon, "I will become Chunin, and I will be the strongest of my generation. If I succeed, accept me as your summoner." The dragon nodded, and with that, and then Naruto disappeared, and appeared in the forest. The first allies. Theory Part 3. After returning, Naruto encountered two women he did not know. He struck a fighting pose and pulled out a kunai he had hidden. "Who are they and what do they want from my Konoha shinobi?" The black-haired woman struck her hands. Pose. Out of nowhere branches came out of the ground and held me down. The purple-haired woman came closer, snatching the kunai from me and putting it near my throat. Her brat, you're not the one asking the questions. Now answer who you are and who your parents are. Naruto, who was a little scared by the kunai, but with an annoyed look, "TSH. I am Naruto Uzumaki, leader of the Uzumaki clan of Uzushigakure. And I have no parents." "You lie. You look a lot like my sensei Kushina Uzumaki," said the black-haired woman. "It's Uzumaki. It's obvious that we will look alike. GG. So little Goki is not liked by his family, and acts like he has no parents." Naruto could not take it anymore and released a large amount of chakra, disappearing the branches that held him since it was a genjutsu. Naruto nimbly pulls out a senbon from his pocket and throws them at both of them. The two kunoichi barely bowed their heads and were only grazed by the senbon. "Boy, we are high-level ninja. Did you really think you could hurt us with that?" Naruto looked at the red-haired girl he had just talked to and made a serious face. "Listen, you two will be mine. I'm not interested in you now, but in the future I'll need you." He turns around and starts to walk away. Anko speaks with annoyance. "Who did this Goki think he is now if I beat him up?" When she takes the first step, she stands still and feels her heart stop for a moment. Then her breathing becomes heavy and she starts to lose vision. Kurenai. "Something's happening to me. Where are you? I can't see anything. What's happening to me?" "Anko, calm down. I'm in your situation too. I think the senbon was poisoned." Both kunoichi were in a terrible condition, as they could no longer see. They could no longer feel. Their bodies felt fragile, and they were about to collapse. A giant tiger approaches and gives a roar that put both women on alert, who felt their lives were reaching here. Anko was shedding a couple of tears. She hated herself for being so weak. She wanted revenge on her master, and although she didn't tell anyone, she wanted to start a family. In Kurenai's case, although beautiful on the outside, she was always disgusted by her looks, because any man who approached her was for something. They all wanted to take her to bed. And when she finally trusted her ex-boyfriend Azuma Sarutobi, it turned out that he abandoned her after sleeping with her. They both didn't want to die, but they would die so pathetically. Naruto observed the situation from afar and felt disappointed, because he expected something more. From them, he could find several ways out of that situation, but the quickest was to use Shunshin no Jutsu. He raised his chakra again, drawing the attention not only of the tiger, but also of the animals around him. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Saying this, he made 20 copies of it appear, and launched the senbon towards all unsuccessfully, killing the 100 predators there. He approached both kunoichi, and as it was already night time, he took out sheets to cover them and used another sheet as a pillow, so that both women could sleep comfortably. The next morning, the first to wake up was Kurenai. She didn't even half open her eyes. She was hysterical, because the memories of the previous day were coming back to her. She sat up in her seat, and was quite agitated and hyperventilating until she felt someone stroking her head. When she looked up, she saw the same boy from yesterday, although his eyes showed a hint of concern. "Don't worry, Kurenai, there's no danger anymore. I won't let anything hurt you." Hearing that, she calmed down, relaxing for a moment. Naruto also gently woke Anko up, and the same thing happened as Kurenai and Naruto also calmed Anko down. Once they calmed down, Naruto went to his backpack and pulled out some candy and gave it to both kunoichis. They, somewhat hesitantly, proceed to eat the candy. Naruto positions himself in front of both of them and bows his head a little. I think I owe you an apology. Yesterday, I was annoyed by your comment, miss. His eyes turned to Anko. But then you cornered me, and I was forced to see you as my enemies, and all that led me to incapacitate you. One doubt, Naruto. What did you mean by will be yours? Was the stern question Kurenai asked. Naruto took a few seconds to answer. I don't know if you know, but my clan was exterminated, and possibly, I am one of the few Uzumaki men, and that's why I need women in the future to reborn my clan. Kurenai yells at him. And you think I'm going to accept that? All men only think about their lust, and never think that their actions hurt women. Then Naruto looks at Anko and says, what is your opinion on this matter? TSH, I will never sleep with anyone in this town. They are all idiots who hate me, because of what my master Orochimaru did. Naruto reflected a little, and then with slow steps he approached Kurenai, and with his two hands he gently grabbed the cheek of that beautiful kunoichi. Forgive me, you're right. I didn't think about how you would feel. But if you accept me, I promise that no one will be able to hurt you again. And if you don't accept, I will understand. With that he kisses her forehead. Now he turns to Anko. I will help you make Orochimaru pay for the pain he caused you and create a place where no one will ever look at you with hatred again. For that I need you to be on my side. What do you want in return? Were the words of the two kunoichis. I need to be strong. Unfortunately my body is fragile. But that won't stop me, and I have sought other forms of power. I need you to train me in your specialties that have nothing to do with physical strength. Kurenai stands up and grabs the little boy's face with her hands. I will train you and make you very strong. Then he makes a serious face. But swear to me that you will never leave me. Swear to me that when I achieve your goals, you will love me, and you won't leave me. Anko was surprised and shouted, what do you think you are doing? He's nothing but a brat, because you're trusting your life to someone you don't know. She didn't understand her friend, but she stopped saying anything when she saw her friend crying. You don't get it. You never trusted anyone. I gave my trust to Azuma. I gave him my heart. I thought he loved me. And when he used me, he left me like I was worthless. More tears came out of Kurenai, and Naruto approached her and grabbed Kurenai's hands as he could. Naruto wrapped himself in chakra and wrapped it around Kurenai, who was astonished. She wanted to ask what he was doing, but Naruto started to speak. Chakra is not just a source of energy, it is rather our life force, and is connected to our whole being. It can reflect our discomforts and how we feel, and we can also comfort someone who is distressed. Kurenai closed her eyes and felt better. The chakra around her was warm, and it felt good. She sketched a faint smile and wiped away her tears. She bent down to Naruto's height and kissed him on the cheek. From today, I will be in your care, so take care of me, Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded. You have trusted me, and with all your being I promise to make you happy. Then he looks at Anko and holds out his hand. Please, Anko. Trust me. I know I can make you happy. TSH. She reaches out and grabs his hand and averts her gaze, so they don't see a small blush. Listen, Goki, you still don't convince me, but for the moment I will trust you. Asterisk the result of my training. Theory part 4. So 6 years of pure training passed. In the physical part, there was not much progress, but now it could be said that he had the strength of a genin. He progressed in the control of his chakra and mastered the 5 elements. Although where he progressed the most was in the area of ninjutsu, now he had a lot of knowledge about poisons and various ways to immobilize the body of the people. He was currently reading a book while lifting weights with his free hand. Something so simple made him sweat. His ears caught a noise, and he disappeared from his place with a Shunshin no Jutsu in seconds. Later he saw two Hyuga, one named Hinata and the other named Hanabi. Both in these stories are twins. Hinata being older by a few seconds. One of them hit the ground with an outstretched palm covered in chakra, and the other did a spinning kick with chakra to power the blow. The result was a small explosion that kicked up dust. Both girls went on the attack. Naruto raised a hand and wrapped a large amount of chakra down a finger. With that finger, he proceeded to defend himself from the blows and kicks of his opponents. After a while, Naruto appeared behind them, and touching their backs, he put a chakra suppression seal on them, and with that he won the fight. Haha. You girls have improved quite a bit. Hanabi pouted. HMP, it's not fair, you are very strong. I train a lot with Oni-san, and I still can't beat you. Haha. What my sister says is true. You really are strong, Naruto-kun. Naruto shakes his head. You guys are pretty strong. You just haven't used your clan techniques yet. If you had used them, the fight would have been more difficult. At that, 3 women appear, who were Tsunade, Kurenai and Anko. Haha, Goki. Here you were hanging out with these pretty girls and I thought you loved us. That made the sisters blush and shook their heads. Anko. Don't bother them anymore. We are all Naruto-kuns. Anko sighed, annoyed. You're mean, Kurenai-chan. I just wanted to have fun for a while. Tsunade, ignoring everyone, approaches a Naruto, who stopped being a boy, and was now a rather handsome young man. As she approached him, he smiled. Tell me, Naruto, how are you doing with my superhuman strength technique and the Byakugan? Naruto gave her a smile that made Tsunade blush. He moves away from everyone and lifted his leg and smashed it against the ground. Boom. The whole area, around 50 meters around, felt the tremor. Tsunade went running and gave Naruto a big hug. You are amazing, Naruto. In only 2 years, you have mastered my techniques. And tell me, how are you doing with the Byakugan? Tsunade asked curiously. Thanks to my knowledge of the seal, I was able to modify the technique to avoid the negative effects of the techniques, and I also moved the position of the seal. Naruto lifts up his shirt, and the girls blush at Naruto's worked body. But they all see a kind of sun-shaped tattoo on Naruto's heart section. Naruto proudly pointed to his chest. Haha. This is my improved version of your technique. I can store 3 times more chakra than the original. Not to mention that the self-regeneration is faster than yours. Tsunade was impressed. She approached Naruto and wrapped him in a hug. Although now Naruto's face was red, as his face was being massaged by the Sanin's prominent breasts. Later, after several hours, the 6 of them were at a campfire, but it seemed that Hanabi was a bit restless, as she and her sister wanted to ask Naruto something from a long time ago. Hey Naruto, pay attention to what Hanabi says, because you always concentrate large amounts of chakra in your throat. That comment made Tsunade frown, but she remained silent. Naruto contemplated whether to tell them or not, since it's something he doesn't like to remember. As you may know, my body is weak. Even with the various exercises, I doubt that my body will ever become stronger than a Chunin's. That is because my muscles and bones, as well as various organs, are, so to speak, deficient and weak. I currently use my chakra to strengthen the internal parts of my body. So imagine, what would happen if someone hit me that hard, and I didn't have my chakra to cover me? What do you think would happen? Swallowing saliva, he answers. Well, it would cause you great damage, and possibly leave a wound forever. Naruto lets out a slight laugh. And you're absolutely right, my Princess Hyuga. Hanabi blushes and Hinata pouts, slightly out of jealousy. Well, when I was 7 years old and wanted help from my mother, she got angry. I could see the hatred she had for me and more when she hit me so hard that she sent me flying into the living room, and I destroyed several things from the impact. Kurenai spoke with concern. Tell me, Naru, where was the hit? She pointed to her throat, and then her gaze landed on Tsunade. Seeing that, she sighed and continued talking. That blow almost broke his neck. I mean, he almost died. Luckily, I was able to prevent it. But even with my skills, I couldn't repair something that was practically worthless. None of the girls wanted to ask, but someone did. That it was no longer worth. Asked Anko with her fists clenched in anger. Tsunade sighed and spoke. Her larynx was no longer good, so she lost her voice. Luckily, this boy is very smart and uses his chakra to improve what little voice he has left. Asterisk Chunin exams. Theory Part 5. The Chunin exams have begun. And in this world, Naruto will not be in Team 7. His brother Menma is the one who takes his place. In this case, Naruto, being a direct student of Tsunade Senju, took the exam alone. In the first exam, which is the written test, Naruto noted that the exam was easy for him, but still he did not take it. But just in case, he used a genjutsu that made it look like his exam was finished. Once the exam is over, the windows are destroyed, and the kunai goes in Naruto's direction. The latter simply stops the kunai with an outstretched finger. Naruto puts on a big smile. Anko-chan, don't you think that was unnecessary? A purple-haired woman appears, and without waiting goes to Naruto and gives him a hug, out of the corner of her eye. Anko could see the jealous faces of Hanabi and Hinata. She puts on a smile and opens her mouth, and then bites Naruto's neck. That made Naruto blush, and many girls felt jealous. Anko takes a stand in front of everyone. Listen up, brats. Meet me in the forest of death in 24 hours. Those who don't want to die don't attend. And for the bitches who want my man, they will have to defeat me first. That last he said for the young Kunoichi, and his gaze focused on Ino Yamanaka, Karen Uzumaki, Tenten, and lastly Kintsuchi, who was a ninja from the New Sound village. That look made the girls who had been caught staring at Naruto blush. The next day, the test began. Naruto wasted no time in ambushing several teams, and after a while he decided to end it and go to rest. But on the way he heard that there was a commotion, and when he approached, he saw a Sasuke with the cursed mark who had killed the Sound ninjas, and was going to kill the last member, who was Kintsuchi. She trembled in fear, because the aura that Sasuke emitted was scary. Sasuke made several poses with his hands and shouted, "Katengenkyu." The girl closed her eyes and resigned herself to the end of her life. But instead of feeling pain and burning to death, she felt a warm sensation. She opened her eyes and noticed that her body was surrounded by a very comforting chakra. But she looked up from her and saw the same boy who had piqued her interest. "Don't worry, everything will be fine. Trust me, Kin-chan." She nodded her head, blushing. Naruto made a clone of him and took the girl to a safe area. Naruto stopped his smile and watched as Sasuke looked at him with hatred. So you honor us with your present student of the Sannin. Tsh, like I care. Then he got a crazed look on his face. "If I kill you, will prove that I am the strongest," Naruto calmly replied. "If you attack me, I will consider you my enemy, so dare to take a step and suffer the consequences." Foolish Uchiha. That way of replying was not to the Uchiha's liking. "Ah, die you bastard." At great speed Sasuke approaches Naruto, and with all his strength he hits a calm Naruto in the face. But everyone watching the fight was amazed, because he didn't even flinch from the attack. Naruto took advantage of his opponent's carelessness. With just a touch of his finger he sent Sasuke flying. Naruto then reaches over with an outstretched palm and punches Sasuke in the stomach, winning the confrontation as Sasuke succumbed to the pain and passed out. The story continues as in the anime, and the only thing that changes is the rescue of Sasuke when he runs away from Konoha. The search team went in search of Sasuke, and after a few hours, Tsunade enters Minato's office. Minato with an annoyed face asks her, "What do you need, Lady Tsunade?" "Tsh, stop being immature. You lost your son for idiot, and now that he is strong you want to recognize him as your son, because I want you to know that he is already very late." Minato angrily hits his desk. "I am the Hokage. I have the power, and I don't accept that my own son doesn't have my last name, and even worse that he has yours. It's unacceptable." It seems to me that the name Naruto Uzumaki Senju fits in well. Besides, it was approved by the Fire Daimyo, and you can't do anything about it. "Well, what have you come to?" "Well, I request to send my student after the Uchiha traitor." Minato raised an eyebrow. "Several genin have already been sent to retrieve Sasuke Uchiha." "Listen to me, Minato. That bastard Orochimaru probably sent a group after Sasuke, and I doubt he sent genin. He probably sent Chunin or Jonin. Minato contemplated this and nodded his head. Alright, I grant you send Naruto to provide reinforcements for the sent teams. Tsunade made a chakra pulse that Naruto could feel, and in a shunshin, he appeared next to Tsunade. She briefed him on the situation, and before leaving, she turned and looked at Minato. Hokage-sama, if Sasuke resists returning to the village and attacks us, I will treat him like the criminal he is. Minato narrowed his eyes. As long as he is alive you can use lethal force. Naruto said nothing, but his eyes reflected the hatred and contempt he felt for the Hokage. Someday, I'll show you who's boss. Pathetic cage. Were Naruto's thoughts. Asterisk a defeated Uchiha. Theory Part 6. Naruto soon caught up with his fellow Konoha ninja, though he remained hidden. To avoid physical fatigue, he used Shunshin to transport himself and move from place to place, arguably on a par with Shisui Uchiha in this technique. He watched as everyone split up, because as Tsunade suspected Orochimaru had sent enemies. As he was the support, he helped each one, preventing them from being seriously injured. In Shikamaru's fight, he did not intervene and watched the defeat of the girl named Toyuya. Both Shikamaru and Temari left thinking they had succeeded in killing the enemy. He approached and with a wind jutsu sent the logs that fell on Toyuya flying. He watched as the girl cried, but her arms covered her face. Sniff, why does this happen to me? Orochimaru-sama, please save me. He felt immense pain in his legs and may never walk again. Her thoughts were interrupted when she felt something hug her. When she opened her eyes, she saw a red-haired boy. On closer inspection, it was the same one she saw in the room where they did the written tests. What the fuck do you think you're doing? Get the fuck out of here, she said angrily. Naruto ignored her and wrapped Toyuya with his chakra to calm her down. That way he focused on her legs. Listen Toyuya, what I'm going to do next is going to hurt, but it will be for your sake. Naruto uses the Chakura Kabuto, also known as the chakra scalpel. Toyuya panicked because the memories of being tortured and the test subject for Kabuto and Orochimaru's experiments made her feel great fear. Sniff. Please Orochimaru-sama, will be strong but no more. I don't want to feel any more pain. Naruto gently hugged Toyuya and comforted her for 5 minutes. She was now on Naruto's chest. Will you hurt him? Was the question from a fearful Toyuya. Naruto, still caressing her head, replies, don't worry. It would never occur to me to hurt you. You are very important to me. Surprised by this answer, she asks him curiously, why am I important to you? If I hardly know you. He gives a big smile. Because we are family, and from now on you are under my protection. Welcome, Toyuya Uzumaki. Toyuya started to cry because in all her life, she was always looking for a place to belong, and finally she found someone she could trust. She swore she would kill Orochimaru for lying to her, for she would always tell him that she was an orphan, that she had no family, and that she was alone in the world. Naruto proceeded to perform an operation on Toyuya's leg. She did her best not to scream and avoid cursing her new friend. After a while Toyuya was panting from exhaustion, and her face reflected the pain she had to endure. Listen Toyuya-chan, bite my arm. Shedded it and felt better, but she fainted from exhaustion. Naruto made a clone and took her safe and sound to her home. He put on a serious face and went to look for Sasuke. We met in the Valley of the End. You could see a Sasuke who had defeated Menma and was about to defile the Hyuga sisters, who are injured and tired. Ha ha ha, you stupid bitches. They always resisted me and avoided me at the Ninja Academy. Now I'll take revenge and make them mine. With a kunai movement I destroy their blouses. Both sisters looked at him with disgust and hatred. Hanabi spoke to him with hatred. You'd better stop. Naru will come, and if he sees this, forget about him being merciful to you. Sasuke got angry and slapped her. Plus, shut up bitch. I'll make that fucking idiot suffer by making you my wife. Hinata can't stand it anymore and yelled at the Uchiha bastard. Leave my sister alone. You sold your soul to Orochimaru, and with his filthy power you defeated us. Without that we would have humiliated you." That infuriated the Uchiha, but he became angrier, knowing it was true. "Tsh, you will be the first to suffer." He destroyed Hinata's brawl with another kunai slash. He had a depraved look full of lust, and with his hand, he was nothing short of grabbing one of Hinata's breasts. Hinata herself had her eyes closed, and was cursing herself for being weak. The Uchiha was inches away from touching her, but something stopped him and a scream was heard. "Argh, bastard." Hinata opens her eyes in surprise, but tears begin to flow. Both sisters scream in unison, "Naru-kun, you came for us." Naruto, still with the hand that had tightly gripped Sasuke's, threw him and sent him flying several meters. He took out a scroll and pulled out clothes and handed them to Hinata and Hanabi. "Take this and cover up." He was about to leave, but both sisters stopped him. Hanabi spoke first, "Torture him, so he won't talk or walk again." Hinata continued speaking, "Gouge out his eyes, and humiliate him." Naruto appeared in front of Sasuke, and kicked him in the ribs. He arghed, "Damn it." Sasuke then puts on a smile, and proceeds to activate Orochimaru's curse seal, transforming into a monster at the sight of Naruto. Here, with this power I humiliated the Hyuga bitches. They're so weak that I didn't even make an effort. Naruto was very angry, his chakra swirling in him. Then he put on a big smile, as he wanted to humiliate him. Naruto used the Hyuga clan stance. "Haha, you're an idiot. That style is only for that clan. If the clan's heirs didn't beat me, you think you can beat me with that pathetic fighting style? You're a jerk, but I see you're begging me to kill you." Naruto approached at high speed and punched near the shoulder. Sasuke was going to sneer, but out of nowhere that part swelled up and exploded, blowing a hole in his shoulder and leaving him with a pretty horrible wound. "Grave, fuck this duel." Sasuke glares. "What have you done, you idiot? I just used the Hyuga style, but instead of closing your chakra net, I destroy everything." "I don't just close your chakra net, I destroy it, besides destroying the affected area." Now Naruto put on a mad grin. "And for your offense towards my future wives, forget that you will come out of this unscathed." And so the fight began. Every hit, jutsu or any attack that Sasuke gave did not affect Naruto, as he used his chakra as an impenetrable armor. However, every hit that Naruto gave destroyed Sasuke's body. Sasuke was panting from exhaustion. I swear you will die today." His hands were filled with lightning. "Look at my killing technique." With a war cry he approached Naruto. He aimed at his heart, and at the moment of impact, the technique exploded. And as a consequence his hand also exploded. Why? I can't beat you. I am from a clan, and you are nobody." Naruto approached without caring what the Uchiha said, and raised his killing intent, scaring Sasuke. "Stay away. If you do anything to me they will execute you. Don't you know I'm important in Konoha? They need me, and they won't tolerate you hurting me." Naruto stopped a few steps away, and Sasuke let out a triumphant laugh. "Haha, that's right. Stand still and now hand over those Hyuga to me, because I will use her to re-establish my clan." He was going to keep talking, but out of nowhere everything went dark. What happened? Because it got dark, Sasuke instinctively used his remaining hand to touch his eyes, but what he found was a void. Mis Oyos, mis hermosos Oyos. Dundeston. Maldito Uzumaki esto fu obra tuya. Naruto había guardado sus Oyos en un frasco. Estúpido Uchiha. En este momento es invalido. Toda tu red de chakra no exist. Pero aún falta algo. Hizo que el Uchiha caera. El suelo, y levanto su piernada en solo pisotan. Destrozo el suelo y provocó un gran cráter. Sasuke quedó aturdido por el estrepitoso sonido del pisotan de Naruto, y cuando quiso levantarse, no pudo. Pues ahora yo no tenía piernas. El no pudo más, y se desmaya. Que patético es Pequeco Uchiha. **The plan begins. Theory Part 7. Sasuke was right. Konoha in general was not happy. As soon as he returned to Konoha, he was tried as a traitor. Now he was tied up in a square in the middle of Konoha, and his murderer would be his own father. People of Konoha, today this demon will die. Today the traitor of Konoha shall die. Today Naruto Uzumaki Senju will die. All the people cheered with joy. Naruto's women had a blank expression, as they were confident that Naruto had something planned. Kushina watched from afar, and didn't know what to feel, as she never loved her son, because she always thought he would be a disgrace to her Uzumaki clan. But now that she was strong, and could be the leader of the clan, she regretted never helping him, and trained him. If she had done something, this would never have happened. Tell me your last words, traitor. They were Minato's cold and spiteful words. Her before you die you could tell me my level as a ninja. You are Chunin now that said I will kill you. Minato with a kunai was going to bury it in his own son's head, but to everyone's surprise he disappeared in Humo. Maldito! Minato screams with fury. Ha 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 ha! There was laughter, and everyone saw on the mountain the faces of the Hokages. Well, the one who spoke was Naruto himself, who was on top of the mountain. Naruto shouts with hatred, "Today Konoha will be destroyed. Today the traitors will die. Today the killers of the Uzumakis will be eradicated. Today I will take my clan's revenge." That information surprised Kushina, and just by looking at the faces of Minato and the Hokages, former advisors, she knew that what her son was saying was true. Listen, if any woman wants to save herself from dying, I recommend you to approach Lady Tsunade. Only those who approach her will survive. Anko, Kurenai, Hana Inuzuka, Sumi Inuzuka, Hinata and Honobi, and her mother also approached, and gradually more women approached. He could tell with his eyes that there were about 200 women. With that done, he disappeared in a flash of red, surprising everyone, especially Minato. He appeared next to Tsunade, and with his chakra, he enveloped all the women, and in another red flash they all disappeared, and appeared in a rebuilt Uzushiogakure. Naruto this time disappeared again, and appeared in the Hokage mountain. Konoha village. My clan was kind to this village, and helped them in their founding, and maintained a bond of friendship, but they feared us, envied us, and betrayed us. Naruto raised his chakra, and made several people collapse on the ground, as the environment itself was heavier. Naruto did a hand pose and bit his fingers. Kuchios no Jutsu. A large giant smoke screen formed, and everyone was expectant. A roar was present, and the hearts of almost everyone in Konoha felt an indescribable fear, because the mythological being that appeared was twice as big as the Kyuubi himself. The dragon observed everything and deduced that it was in Konoha. With a deep voice the dragon spoke. "Just by looking at this town, I know you deserve to die. You little scummed," Minato shouted to all his ninjas. "Attack and bring me the head of that traitor." Naruto looked at everyone, and with a hand signal created 50 clones. All the clones inhaled a large amount of air and in unison shouted, "Katengi Kamekyoku, cover everyone." It was Minato's warning. Jiraiya made his appearance and summoned several toads that spat water. But even with all the help, the village was almost devastated, and many people died. Naruto looked at the people screaming in pain, screaming from sheer agony of being burned alive, and several who survived were badly hurt. The dragon looked at his summoner and asked, "Why did you summon me if I did nothing? I only summoned you to spread fear in these people." Naruto looked at his family and saw how his parents were crying, because Menma was about to die, as his body had an ugly black hue from the flames he received. Kushina broke off and glared at her firstborn. "Tell you bastard, are you happy now? Causing us pain makes you happy. Killing senselessly makes you happy. I hate you." He shouted this last with all his might, for he felt a great rage. Naruto raised his hand, and a blue sphere came into existence. Both parents were surprised, because they never taught him that, or rather never taught him anything. "Oh Kazanatsu, I always hoped I could feel his love, but that never happened." He had a sad look, but then he changed to an angry one. "You think I didn't know? You bastards wanted to make me a slave to follow my brother's orders. and that my offspring would be the slave of my brother's offspring. A chakra enveloped Naruto, and it was getting bigger and bigger, so the Rasengan also grew to an abnormally large size. That will never happen. I won't be anyone's slave. You hear me? You scum of parents. That left both parents silent. Kushina wanted to say something, but Naruto said something they'd never forget. I was never the mistake. The mistake was you. Azog. With a cry of hatred, he raised his chakra so high that a column of chakra could be seen from far away. The Rasengan continued to grow, and was practically the size of the dragon that had already disappeared, red in smoke. Today Konoha will cease to exist. For a moment, there were cries of hatred, screams of fear and pleas, but after a while boom. And then nothing. There was only silence. Naruto disappeared in a flash of red, but not before he smiled a somewhat chilling smile as he saw a huge hole where the strongest village of the elemental nations used to be. Asterisk Conquest of the World. Theory Part 8. The news of Konoha's destruction that the other villages and alerted the cages, increasing the security of their village. Approximately 5 years had passed since the destruction of Konoha, and a young Uzumaki of 18 years old could be seen on the top of a mountain meditating. The curious thing is that his hands were protected by some black dragon scales. The dragon boss approaches his disciple and summoner, young Uzumaki. I have received reports that the other shinobi villages are one day away from reaching Yuzu and plan to destroy the village. Naruto slowly opens his eyes, and the Sharingan is seen, or rather Sasuke's Sharingan, that evolved him to Mangekyo. He stood up from his place, and something else could be noticed from the Uzumaki as from his back knife. Crimson tails could be seen. Naruto silently looked at his hand and clenched it into a fist. Who knew that by perfecting the Byakugan and the Dragon Sage mode, plus the full control of the Kyuubi, my body would heal. The dragon, proud of his pupil, speaks to him. You have put in a lot of effort, and the results have been more than exceptional. Naruto paced a bit and shouted with all his might. The allies of the Uzumaki clan have remained hidden from mankind for many decades, but today they will re-emerge into the world, and their flames will destroy our enemies. Today you rule with me and support my cause. More than 100 dragons made an appearance, but the ones that stood out the most were the 5 sons of the chief dragon. Naruto disappeared and appeared in the main mansion of his house, where his wives were waiting for him. Well, he saw it fair to marry only the first women who supported him, and only be a couple with the rest of the women, although he would love them all in the same way. After a while of chatting and some fun in bed, enjoyed by Naruto's wives and partners, as well as Naruto himself, who enjoyed everything. But now it was time to prepare for war. Currently the village of Uzushigakure was located on a large island, but there was only one way by which the invaders would arrive. Naruto and his 200 kunoichis were at the front, and the rest were in the village to prevent anyone from infiltrating. Tsunade positions herself next to Naruto, but she looked younger because with the help of the Kyuubi, they managed to rejuvenate the Senju. Hey Naru, what are the odds of winning this battle? He contemplated the question, but sketched a smile. Today will be our victory. Kurenai stands on the opposite side of Naruto and asks, you know it's about 400,000 ninja. Naruto started to walk away because it would be the first defense of his home. But his face turns back and gives a smile not only to Tsunade and Kurenai, but to all the women in the place. I will not lose. Today the Uzumakis will win. Saying this, he continued his walk. From a slow walk, he went to a fast one. As he got closer, he started to activate the Dragon Sage mode and activated the Byakugan. He then pulled out about 50 senbon from his pocket and created 20 clones of him. The enemy was approaching and several prepared their elemental jutsu. Before that happened, Naruto and his clones drew the senbon in all directions. Many died, but that didn't stop Naruto. He disappeared in several yellow flashes, because each senbon bore the mark of the Harem. With his dragon claws he would pierce or slash his enemies. His tails, though soft to the touch, could harden, and with them he would impale anyone who came near. Enemy jutsus did nothing to him, because over the years he was able to create a dome of chakra around him, invisible to the eye but protecting him at all times. "Damn, you will die," he shouted, furious a ninja, and went to cut Naruto with his sword. On impact with Naruto's body, the sword shattered, and Naruto with a cold look created a Rasengan and smashed it against the idiot's head, which made his head explode and scared everyone. After 3 hours, the enemy army was reduced to only 40 ninja, including the cages of their respective villages. May Cage of the Mist Village was panting from battle fatigue. "This guy is very strong. If he keeps this up we will die." The cages next to him nodded, but then relaxed and with a hand signal the Jinchuriki of their villages, or at least what was left, went to attack Naruto. Naruto did not even flinch and shouted, "Kuchiyos no Jutsu." That said, nothing more and nothing less than the Kyuubi himself appeared. The fight was fierce, but the Kyuubi won, who was happy. "Ha ha 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 Goki, I owe you one. Finally I was able to go out and humiliate my weak brothers." This was said by a happy Kyuubi, while his 9 tails held the necks of his Beegis brothers. The cages were scared, because they didn't know what to do anymore. In a fit of rage, the Raikage attacked with all his power. There was a gigantic explosion, and to everyone's disbelief, the powerful blow of the Raikage was stopped by a finger of Naruto. Naruto didn't waste the cage's astonishment, and with his tails, he pierced his enemy's leg, arms and stomach. Wag! The Raikage vomited a large amount of blood, and before saying anything he felt his world spinning, and after a while he was able to process that his head was on the ground, and Naruto had his hands raised covered in blood. The rest of the enemies felt real fear, and Naruto didn't stay still, and went to attack towards the army coming towards him and started another battle in which only Mei, Samui, Yujito, Kurui, Moki, Pakura, Kurotsuchi and several more kunoichi were left. The first to speak was Mei Terumi. "And now you're going to let us escape alive?" Naruto shook his head. "I want all of you to join my clan, and in the future form a family with me." They were all outraged, because from their point of view, they were just going to use her as a baby breeding machine, and they all insulted him and refused outright. Naruto used his murderous intent, silencing them all. Then Naruto pointed to a jonin from the Rain Village. "Tell me, young lady, as far as I know your village has always suffered. Wouldn't you like to change that?" The jonin named July nodded and answered, "But that's impossible. Our village has always suffered the wars of the 5 great shinobi villages, and if I told you that I can give you and all that village a new place to live in peace." She thought about it and answered, "How would you do that?" "It's quite simple. Wars happen because one village wants more power than another. But tell me what would happen if there was only one village where everyone lived in peace." It's simple to answer. Peace would finally be attainable. That surprised everyone, and little by little they began to accept the offer to join Naruto. But there were 2 who did not cooperate, and those were Mei and Kurotsuchi. Mei speaks to him. "You would never be able to accomplish that. To do that you would need a great power." Kurotsuchi spoke next. "We will never follow you. I am a proud kunoichi of the Mist Village, and I would never betray my village." Naruto said nothing and made a pose with his hand and bit his finger, and shouted, "Kuchiyos no Jutsu." What they all saw left them with their mouths open, because an army of big dragons was around them, and some were bigger than the Kyuubi itself. Naruto turns in the direction of the 2 women. "If more power is missing, then my allies will help me, and if you die, then what's the point of pride?" Naruto speaks loudly. "Go to the Mist Village and raise the place." All the dragons took flight, and Mei's eyes widened, and her face reflected horror. "Stop. I'll follow you anywhere, but leave my village alone. So many have already died. Please, there is no need for more deaths." Naruto raised his arms and the dragon stopped. His gaze softened, and he spoke in a friendlier manner. "Your village was one of the ones my clan annihilated. I do not seek total destruction. I seek a revolution." I want a place where my children can grow up without fear of some enemy kidnapping or killing them. With that said, all the women and Naruto returned to Uzushiogakure and celebrated Naruto's victory. Naruto's wives kept the new members company. There was laughter and happiness, showing that Naruto really wanted to make them happy. After that, Naruto went with his army of dragons and devastated all the villages and left alive the people who accepted him as their ruler. After that, he created a big village so that the people who lost their homes could live. Before leaving, he appointed a trusted kunoichi as the cage of the new village, which he called the Hidden Dragon Village. With that settled, Naruto could finally take a vacation and rest, though he couldn't rest much because in his village there were 500 women, many of whom wanted to have a child. Naruto had an anime-style bead of sweat and feared for his health because he wasn't sure he could satisfy a colossal amount of women. End of story. Thank you so much. We are now over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Remember that my story is to entertain. The characters are not true to mythological tales or anime. You can support me by following me on Wattpad or subscribing on my YouTube channel.